So it's 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday, and I'm parked right across the street from the Piccolo Motel. I was waiting for my wife, with whom I lived for 3.5 years, to appear. I've learned she's due to meet Glenn Eversham in room 145 at noon today. Glenn was one of her old high school friends, and a guy I know pretty well. In fact, Glenn was one of my friends until recently. But don't things like this happen so often? Glenn was Ellie's first true love. Ellie was supposed to be my wife. Or not. She and Glenn dated all through high school. He was the one who took her cherry after graduation. Yes, I was part of the crowd the night he told the story. I remember him bragging about how he got her. He had a big Chrysler 4x4 truck with a long bed in an extended cab. He kept blankets and other odds and ends either in the back seat or in the bed itself. Old Glenn was always ready. Yeah, that bastard told us all about how he did it. He told us one evening after we had all finished work. It was in the summer, right after finishing school. I hear it like it was yesterday. He said, "Dudes, I got her after graduation. She changed her prom dress at her cousin's house. She was wearing a black Harley-Davidson t-shirt and a pair of incredibly short cut-off jeans. Yes, she was pretty. Long brown hair all in curls going down her back. Big green eyes, eyelashes that went on for miles. Beautiful small breasts and a tight ass. I told her we were going to Jed Nelson's after-prom party, but first I wanted to stop for a few minutes. I told her I wanted to tell her something. I kind of hinted that I was going to ask her to marry me. She was already all emotional, so it was easy to put a few granules of ecstasy tablets into the beer. Within minutes, she was ready to rock and roll. Of course, you guys know she was a virgin. God, she was so small. Almost no hair, just a tiny fluff. She was 18, but I expected something more. At first, she tried to stop me, but I continued to work on her, and she gave up. She started to like it. I could tell she liked it because she was crying and moaning. Then she sat on the blanket and cried. She didn't say anything. She just cried. Finally, she looked at me and asked what I was going to say. I forgot, so I told her I had signed up for the Navy and would be leaving at the end of next week. I asked her to wait for me. She stopped crying and told me she would think about it. After that, I took her home, kissed her goodnight, and left. We never made it to Jed's party. Oh, I remembered him telling us his stupid story. I was there, hanging out on the edge like always. It broke my heart to hear that. Glenn, Ellie, and I, we all grew up together. We all went to the same grammar school, primary and secondary schools. Glenn was an American to everyone. He had charm, money, athletic ability, and, of course, the attention of all the girls. It's funny how he never really achieved anything. He played for the football team but was fired. He went to basketball and cut himself there too. He tried baseball but couldn't hit it. He always had a reason. In football, the coach was an idiot. In basketball, the smaller guys kept elbowing him. And in baseball, he said the umpires were always idiots. However, he always got the girls. He was voted homecoming king in our senior year and was voted the guy most likely to be remembered in the yearbook. I also did some sports. Oh, my name is Wyatt Templeton. Yes, I went to football games and made the team. I missed basketball but made the volleyball team and played on the varsity lacrosse team all 4 years in the spring. I guess it was a matter of body type. Glenn was a big, strong guy. He lifted weights. I'm skinny. I've always been skinny. I couldn't compete with the bigger guys in football, but damn, I could run. In the winter, the coach found out that I could jump well. This led me to the volleyball team, and of course, lacrosse was my thing. I played center field. Yes, Glenn had girls, and somehow got famous. All I got was a lot of letters. Glenn specialized in partying all through high school, and he was a master at it. I wasn't that gifted. At first, my mom and dad had 5 kids, so personal cars and trucks just weren't on the menu. Although I didn't have many dates, I always borrowed my mother's rusty Cavalier if I needed a car. As soon as we graduated from high school, Glenn went to Penn State. His parents had money. I stayed in high school and received a partial scholarship to a local state university. It didn't get me very far. I had to promise to teach on staff for 3 years, so I ended up becoming a public school teacher. To be a school teacher means to take a vow of poverty. I don't know why, but I stayed with it. It's probably because I love children. Glenn graduated from the University of Pennsylvania, went to law school, and ended up working at a large law firm in the city. He says he's making a ton of money now, 5, maybe 10 times more than me. I look at my watch, 11:40, soon. I will find out, one way or another, whether I have a wife and family or not. This sucks. This really sucks. So Glenn went to Penn State, and I stayed home. I've always been partial to Ellie. This is Ellie Colleen Templeton, nee Cochrane. Ellie graduated from high school and went to community college, where she took several classes in computer programming and software. I never understood any of this. Computers are like my car to me. I know where the gas is, how to start it, and I have enough sense to brake if I hear something I don't like. Oh, sure. I've read all the books and brochures on car maintenance. I know how the damn things work, but cars are like plumbing to me. Trying to fix it only makes things worse. I remember the first time we moved into our house. Ellie needed a dishwasher and a new sink and countertop. I read, bought the equipment, and decided to install it all myself. It shouldn't have been that hard. It's all written out. I tried. I really wanted to. I just couldn't get the damn copper pipe to stop leaking. Ellie called Daddy. This is her dad. He came and took care of it. I remember him tapping me on the shoulder and praising me for trying. Ellie made coffee. We all drank a cup while she told me how proud she was of me for caring enough to care. I felt stupid. I just couldn't do anything right. But in a way, I felt good. I liked this praise. Glenn went to Penn State. He made a name for himself. He became president of his fraternity and a Nittany Lions fan. I also made a name for myself. After my freshman year, I was on the dean's list every semester. I did this and also worked part-time all year. Glenn came home every summer. He took his summer vacation and went to the beach where he surfed and had sex with every chick he saw. I tried to arrange a date with Ellie. It was the summer between our first and second years. She and I have always been friends. It seemed like we were chatting and hanging out as childhood friends. Honestly, I've always loved her. I kissed her once when we were in middle school. I remember how she blushed. I almost shit my pants. Imagine I had the nerve to kiss Ellie Cochrane. It was like climbing Mount Everest. She blushed, then kissed me back. But then she made me promise not to tell Glenn, and I felt sad. I almost went and did something stupid. Just before she made me promise, I almost told her I loved her. What a fool I was. How about my big date with Ellie? She finally agreed to go on a date with me. Okay. I finally got the courage to ask her out. She said yes. There was one really fancy seafood restaurant just outside of town. It was called Sailor's Harvest. I thought I'd take her somewhere special to eat and then we'd go back to town to see the play. I really thought this could be cool. Remember I said I don't know much about cars. I bought a used Hyundai. It was a lot of mileage, but the seller said the engine ran like clockwork. He said she would probably go another 100,000. I bought it and everything was great for 2 weeks. I took Ellie's hand. God, she looked amazing. She was wearing a pale blue mini dress, nude nylon stockings, and high heels. Ellie is 5'6" in. I'm 5 feet 11 inches tall. Glenn is 6 feet 4 inches tall. The heels made her a little taller than me. I felt a little awkward, but then I always felt awkward around Ellie. Look, I could go on and on about a lot of things, but with Ellie around, I could never finish a sentence. Eventually, I looked into those big green eyes and just froze. She smiled at me, and I withered away. I went to her door and talked to her mom and dad while Ellie got ready. I walked her to the car, helped her get in, and we drove off. I think about 2/3 of the way to the restaurant, my new used Hyundai expired. It just stopped. I pulled back the hood, got out, looked under it, and froze there. I had no idea what was going on. Ellie got out and also looked under it. Ellie smiled at me. Broken, hey. I had a reservation at a restaurant. I had 2 $60 tickets to see Cats, and then my car died. I looked back at her. Yes, I think so. She reached into her purse, took out her cell phone, and called Daddy. He got there in about half an hour. He tied an old tire to the front of his car and pushed us back towards their house. I sat in my car all alone and drove while he pushed. Ellie rode in her daddy's car while he pushed. I felt like a piece of crap sandwiched between 2 slices of bread. We went back to Ellie's and had a barbecue with her mom, dad, and little brother. Then we watched an old film on TV. She told me later, as we watched Robert Redford kiss Jane Fonda, that she had already seen a performance of Cats. Glenn took her to New York, where they saw it on Broadway. This was my big date with Ellie. I looked at my watch again, 11:45. I was wondering what I was doing. I guess I always knew that sooner or later Glenn would come and claim his prize. I just thought maybe Ellie put Glenn in her rearview mirror. I guess I just didn't understand. I guess I should have known better. I remember when Ellie and I got married. I remember how I persuaded her to agree to become my wife. After that first date didn't work out, she agreed to try again. It was a little later in the summer, and all the city carnivals had already started. God, I remember how a year before, Ellie won a beauty contest in our city. This was in our senior year. She was crowned queen of the city on the second night of the carnival. I remember it was raining. Glenn was supposed to be there, but for some reason, he stayed on the beach. I was her escort. Oh, I know I only got this job by default. She really wanted Glenn. She never said it, but I knew. The guy knows these things. As I said, it was raining. It wasn't just rain, it was a heavy downpour, and everything was wet. Ellie brought regular clothes with her, but for the parade and coronation, she bought a special outfit, a very beautiful white mini dress. Well, the sky has opened. In a matter of minutes, Ellie was soaked through. Her beautiful mini dress was made of this fine linen or cotton or something like that. She was wet. Everyone could see right through her, and she was on this platform. I played dumb. I ran off the platform, grabbed the old man's cloak. Older people always seemed to be ready. I ran back and covered her as fast as I could. To my chagrin, the wooden platform was painted with some sort of glossy enamel, and the rain made it slippery as hell. I threw the raincoat over Ellie and then fell straight off the platform into the wet grass below. Damn. I don't know what hurts more, my body or my pride. I just sat on the wet grass and watched. I was too embarrassed to go back upstairs. Ellie sat on her throne and accepted the crown and scepter. She never looked at me, but she had a big smile on her face. All I can say is how graceful and beautiful she looked, but I felt like she was laughing at me too. When the rain stopped, we walked around the area. Her dress dried out, and no one could see through it anymore. Of course, my brown Levi's were stained with grass, and my short t-shirt was covered in dirt. She looked like what she really was, a city princess. I looked like what I really was, the town idiot. We went back and forth to where the games were taking place. We went to where they sold beef and French fries. I bought her a cutlet with meat. I bought her a funnel cake and some ice cream. Later, I took her home. She thanked me and kissed me on the cheek. It was probably some kind of date. We dated a little more after my fiasco with the car. Nothing special, just movies, a picnic, a trip to the park to swim, and some hot dogs. I thought that summer was special. Towards the end of that summer, Glenn showed up for about a week. He took Ellie somewhere every evening. For her, I ceased to exist. Glenn Eversham. I hate this son of a bitch. My watch showed 11:50. Now it won't take much time. How did I get Ellie to agree to marry me? This is just a miracle. I know everyone has heard of solo dogs, about dogs that become attached to one person and remain faithful to that person their entire lives. I guess I'm something of a loner man. Sure, I dated other girls, but I always ended up comparing them to Ellie, and Ellie always won. All people dream. Most people have two types of waking dreams. They are either a victorious hero or a suffering hero. It didn't matter to me whether to win or suffer. The heroine was always the same. She was Ellie, and she was always perfect. How did I get her to agree to marry me? From the time our first summer break ended until my senior year, Ellie and I dated on and off. I never had a lot of money, so almost all of our dates were about things that were affordable. We did things like demolition derbies, tractor pulls, carnivals, apple festivals, minor league baseball games, the state fair, horse shows. Ellie has always been a big fan of horse riding. I also love riding, but for her, it's more like a religion than just a casual pastime. Ellie always had her own horse. I could never afford it. Although Glenn had a horse. Oh yeah, I took her to church every chance I got. Sure, it's a cheap date, but I have to show her that I have character. We are both Methodists. They say, and I believe them, that all Methodists love is to sing and eat. I know one thing. Ellie has a beautiful voice. Now that we're married, she's in the church choir. She looks angelic as she dons her choir robe. God, this can't happen to me. I asked Ellie to marry me. It was the fall of my senior year. Ellie had already finished school and was working for a local software company. She traveled around the area repairing damaged computers. She started writing her own programs and even started inventing her own games. Don't ask me to explain any of this. I have already explained my position on technology. Glenn was in his senior year at the University of Pennsylvania. He was a constant thorn in my side throughout college. He would be away almost all the time. Then he would come home, ask Ellie out on a date, and she would go out with him. I felt like I was always second. Glenn didn't come home alone for Thanksgiving. Her name was Marcia Ashcroft, and she was a rare treat. Long blonde hair, delicious-looking breasts, amazing ass, brown eyes. She was great. Glenn brought Marcia home to meet his parents and all his friends. He told everyone that this was the girl he was going to marry. They've already chosen a date, immediately after its release. That's it. We congratulated the happy couple. Ellie kissed Glenn and Marcia in congratulations, and so did I. Well, I shook Glenn's hand. Once Glenn and Marcia were gone, I got to work. I finally believed that Glenn Eversham was gone. Now it was my time. To be honest, there were other guys, but I was pretty sure that after Glenn, I was Ellie's number one. I went to the mall, bought a ring, and planned my pitch. I thought I'd do it at her house. Her parents had a large modern house with a beautiful club basement. I thought I'd take her downstairs where I'd ask her the question. Her brother was in high school, so I figured he wouldn't be home. It was Friday evening. I called Ellie and convinced her to come downstairs where we could play video games. It was always an easy sell since she usually won. We went downstairs. His parents and brother were upstairs. We went back to the playroom and sat on the couch. The big TV was right in front of us. I got down on one knee and pulled out the ring box. I opened the tiny box and took out the ring. I said, "Ellie." She interrupted me. "Oh, no, you don't." I was a little taken aback. I thought she was going to tell me off. I said, "Well, Ellie pulled me onto the couch and said, "Kiss me, dumbass." So I kissed her. While I was kissing her, she began to unbutton my shirt. By the time we finished our first kiss, she had taken off my regular shirt and t-shirt. I put my hands on her hips. She had all her clothes on, and she started kissing me. She started rubbing my breasts with her hands. I became hard as a rock. After a few more kisses, she leaned back on the couch and looked at me. She looked at me intently and said, "Well." I moved closer and slowly began to unbutton her blouse. It was light green to match the color of her eyes. I pulled my blouse down to my waist and then went back and unclasped my bra. I was pleased that the hooks were in the front. This was the first time I saw a woman's breasts live up close in the flesh. They were the most beautiful breasts. I stroked them with my palms. I was in heaven. Just then, her brother began to walk down the stairs. He went down about 3 steps, and Ellie shouted very loudly, "Vernon, come back upstairs." Her brother's name was Vernon. Then I heard her father shout even louder, "Vernon, come back here." Ellie pulled me towards her, unbuckled my belt, and unbuckled my jeans in a matter of seconds. We were sitting completely naked, on the couch in the playroom in her parents' basement, and her mom, dad, and brother were upstairs. I heard their conversation as clear as day. That night, I became a man. I was 21 years old and had never had a woman. Yes, I was a virgin. It was the most amazingly wonderful night of my life, and I thought it was the same for her. We walked slowly. We kissed, cuddled, and hugged each other. We carefully explored each other's bodies, first with our hands and then with our lips. I knew she was not a virgin. I heard Glenn's story, but it was able to fool me that night. I think she was more scared than me. In books and stories, this is called sex. I wish I could call it something else. It was love, real, true, absolute love. I kissed her. I kissed her private part, up and down those teasingly delicious lips. Glenn was right. There was almost no hair there. Then I realized that she was small. No, not just small. She was tiny. Really tiny. I wondered if Glenn was lying. Only a virgin could be so small. Ellie grabbed me by the ears and lifted me up so that we were face to face. We were lying on the sofa. I was on top. Ellie whispered in my ear, "I want you to make me a woman." I thought, did she really read my thoughts? I know it will hurt, but I want you to be the one to do it. At first, she shuddered and cowered, but pretty soon I felt that she was starting to get used to it. She was crying, or rather, she was sobbing a little. She continued to dig her fingers into my shoulders. I continued to kiss her, but it was difficult as she continued to bite her lips. I knew it had to hurt. I don't know how long it lasted, but in the end, I couldn't stand it. And came to the finish line. I felt her shudder. She began to cry quickly. I admit I cried too. I looked down. There was some blood there. I thought about this. We lay there. By that time, we were already side by side. We just lay there, hugging each other. I continued to kiss her face and head. She continued to run her hands up and down my body. After some time, we sat down. Ellie looked at me with an incredibly serious expression on her face, and then said, "Let me see the ring." I found my pants, took the ring out of the box, and handed it to her. She extended her left hand. I think it was her left hand. She said, "Put this on." I did. The diamond looked small, a little over 1/4 of a carat, but it seemed to me that it seemed to shimmer and glow in the soft light of the table lamp. She turned her hand this way and that. She looked at me. "This means no more. There is no one else, for you and for me." I didn't understand what she meant. "What?" I asked. She threw a serious, expressive look at me. "From now on, you and I, just us, no one else." Damn it, I thought. There has never been anyone else, at least for me. I told her, "God, Ellie, you are everything that ever was." She smiled. "I know, for me too." At the time, I didn't understand what she meant by "for her too." I'm still not sure. A few minutes later, we got dressed and went upstairs to visit her mom and dad. Ellie showed them the ring. They didn't look particularly happy. I'd say they looked more relieved than happy. I once thought I knew why, but now I'm not so sure. That's how it all started. Ellie and I were official. We were a couple. We told all our friends. Everyone admired her ring. Everyone was happy for us, even Glenn. All this happened in November. We were young, in love, and did not pay attention to possible complications. She had a good job. She could even do most of her work from home. I was already on my way. I majored in mathematics and education. The math teachers were great. With my grades and my athletic background, getting a teaching job in the district was an easy decision. We were planning a wedding in June, but we discovered one small complication. If two people who love each other have sex regularly without taking precautions, then what may happen is inevitable. Around mid-January, we realized we had a minor complication that was about 7 months away. We moved the wedding date to March. Our first minor complication occurred in July. We named her Jenny. The same week Jenny was born, I got a job teaching math at a county high school. I was also invited to help out at the high school with the girls' soccer team. My watch showed 11:55. Pretty soon, my world, all my dreams, all my fantasies about a happy future could collapse. My Ellie will appear and meet Mr. Big Shot, Glenn Eversham. I read all her emails. I knew what was about to happen. Oh, those emails. Those fucking emails. Why did she leave her mail open? Why didn't she lock it? She had passwords and secret accounts. I know almost nothing about these things. This shouldn't have happened. I mean, I didn't need to know. Had she left them open on purpose? Did she want me to know? Was she really that unhappy with me? Was I such a bad husband? God knows I tried. We had no money, but I tried to make up for lost time. I gave her all my attention. I told her every day how much I loved her. I tried to give her everything that money can't buy. Was it sex? I don't think I'm a bad lover, but I really don't have anything to compare it to. Ellie is the only girl I've ever been with. I'm serious. Ellie is the only girl for me. I never tried to hurt her or do anything that I considered humiliating. I always tried to be gentle, firm, but gentle. I think with Ellie, I know when I've got her fired up. I always tried my best to make sure she got her arousal. There were times when she didn't want sex. When she was busy with Jenny and Craig, her back hurt a lot. I massaged her back. I would massage her all over. I like to touch her. She's everything I ever wanted. Oh God, please don't let this happen. Was I a bad daddy? Jenny is 3 years old, and Craig is very young. Oh yeah, I guess I scream sometimes, but all men scream at least from time to time. I pay attention to my children. I read Jenny fairy tales. I take her horseback riding. I try to do everything that my parents did for me. I try to be a good daddy. I want to be like myself and Ellie's father. I do a lot of housework. I help prepare dinner. I'm washing the dishes. I'm cleaning the lawn. I help with flowers. I turn on the vacuum cleaner. I do everything she asks. I do this because I want her to be happy. When Ellie is not feeling well, I always try to be there for her. I'm not running off to a tavern or anything like that. I kiss her every chance I get. I love holding her in my arms when we are in bed. I first noticed her special Glenn account about 2 months ago. I didn't suspect anything, probably just curious. I opened it. Now I regret doing it. Glenn, the bastard, Eversham, asked if he could see her. He said he missed her. He was lonely and unhappy in his marriage and needed someone to talk to. Damn. I wondered what kind of snake was in the grass. Then I read Ellie's answer. At first she told him to fuck off. She didn't curse. She just said she was married, busy, and thought that if he wasn't happy, maybe he should talk to Marcia, and if not his wife, then maybe a counselor. He continued to email her. He continued to whine and beg. He said he needed someone. He said she was the only one who truly understood him. She resisted. This continued, but then Ellie changed. Ellie started talking about how she remembered when they were in high school and how much fun they had before he got engaged to Marcia. She began to remember what they did without me. Long story short, she started breaking my heart. Oh shit. Glenn is here. He's at the motel room door. I squinted in my car so he couldn't see me. Crap. What am I worried about? I'm across the street in the parking lot. I watched him. He continued to look around. I watched as he entered room 145. He opened the door again. Wait! He took out his cell phone. He dialed the number and started talking to someone. I bet it's Ellie. I bet he tells her he's there. Oh shit. My life is turning to shit right before my eyes. Oh please, Ellie, don't show up. God, why the fuck am I so worried? I read her emails. I know how much she craves this. She has already committed adultery, if not in reality, then at least in her heart. If she doesn't break her vows today, she will do it another time. It's heartbreaking. Reading it on some screen is terrifying, but seeing it live, in the flesh, up close and personal, well, that's a different matter entirely. Damn, it's 12:00 or noon, any second. Listen, I have 2 children and a third on the way. Yes, Jenny was born in July 3 years and 2 months ago. Craig arrived last October and Ellie said she's missed 2 periods recently. These are 3 children, 3 kids with a lying, cheating bitch. No, I can't say that. Ellie would never, but here he is. He's over there. It's all because of these letters, these damn letters. I wish I had never read them. I'll give her credit. At first she fought him off, then her voice became interested, and then she started talking about his wife, Marcia. Ellie kept pestering him about his wife. She said neat things like, "What about your wife? Why do you want to do this to her? Wouldn't it be better to talk to your wife? Marcia loves you. I know you should talk to her. Glenn, you need to say something to your wife." He always had an answer. He said that she didn't understand him. He said he never loved her the way he loved Ellie. He said he thought Marcia was cheating on him. I have to give Ellie credit. She fought for Marcia. She couldn't have done it better even if it were Marcia herself. In the end, it didn't matter. Last week, Ellie gave up. She agreed to meet him, and here we are, where we are. My marriage, my life, and very likely Glenn and Marcia's marriage will end soon. Look, I wasn't messing around. I talked about this with my father. He agrees with me. He, like me, believes that when a man and woman agree to get married, they give themselves to each other. My heart, my soul, my life's treasure, and my body are no longer mine. They belong to Ellie. Ellie must understand that I don't want to enslave her, but she has made the same commitment to me. What she said, there is no more, there is no one else. Her heart, soul, and body belong to me just as mine belong to her. She can't do my honey justice. She can't make a fool of me, a cuckold. I won't stand for this. I will pay her alimony and child support for the rest of my life. I will live in poverty, but I will not be betrayed. I look at the clock. It's 12:15 now. Glenn was at the door 3 times. Ellie is late. I'm interested. I think he's interested too. I'm praying maybe she won't show up. If she doesn't show up, I'll deal with her. I'll ask her about the emails. I'll try to make her see, make her understand. We can get advice. God, I love her so much. I'd rather die than live without her. As I thought before, I am monogamous. I can't live without her. Being without her is like dying. Oh, please, Ellie, stay home. Don't show yourself. But what if she does show up? I know the answer to this question. If she comes, it's over. I won't accept this. I'll move out of here. We'll get divorced. I won't live like some weak-willed loser. I'm just not wired that way. Oh, please, Ellie, don't come. God, it's 12:20. This is killing me. I have to find out. I need to call. I grab my cell phone and dial Ellie's number. It barely rings once. This is Ellie, she says. Yes. Oh, it's you, Wyatt. Ellie, what are you doing? Where are you? Wyatt, what do you mean? You know where I am? I'm home. Jenny is in her nursery in the living room. Craig is upstairs sleeping. I'm ironing one of your shirts. Then there's a pause. She asks, where are you? Shouldn't you be in class right now? I answer as decisively as I can. No, Ellie, I'm in my car. I park it in the lot across from the Piccolo motel. I watch Glenn Eversham walk in, and out of room 145, as if he's looking for someone. Tell me, Ellie, are you sure you're home? I'm listening to it. There is silence for a moment on the other end of the line. Damn it, I got her. Wyatt, I ask you to hang up your phone. I want you to wait there. You know I love you. You know, of course, that I would never do anything that could hurt you or jeopardize our life together. Trust me. Just wait. Call me and tell me as soon as you see anything. Now hang up the damn phone. I did as I was told. I hung up. Okay, I thought. I'll give her all the rope she needs. The second hand on my watch kept moving. It was 12:30. Something happened at Piccolo. What could it be now? I watched as 2 people approached the door to room 145. One of them was Marcia Eversham. I didn't recognize the other person, but he was a man. He had something under his arm. He started knocking on the door. Holy crap. Glenn opened the door. The man simply handed him a large envelope. He said something. I wondered what it could be. Marcia stood behind the man. The man began to leave. Marcia went too. Glenn ran after his wife. God, what the hell just happened? I decided to call Ellie back. I dialed Ellie's number again. She immediately answered and asked me, what did you see? Ellie, I saw some guy give Glenn a stack of papers. Marcia was there. I saw Glenn chasing his wife across the parking lot. What do you think you saw? I hesitated for a second. I think I understood what it was. Ellie, tell me. Wyatt, what you saw was the end of a very unhappy marriage. I was confused. You mean, now you can go home? And what? Come home, honey. I'll tell you everything when you arrive. Wyatt took the whole day off, so he went straight home. Ellie was there waiting for him when he walked through the door. He arrived home just in time to see Ellie's mom loading his little kids into her minivan. They waved to each other. Wyatt came in. Do you want to tell me what happened today? Ellie took Wyatt's hand and led him to their couch. It was actually an old couch from her parents' basement, the same couch that she had given away her greatest treasure on, the same treasure that she had given him just a few years ago. Sit down, honey. Wyatt sat down on the couch. Ellie knelt on the floor at his feet and began, Sorry, my dear. You shouldn't have seen these letters. I guess that's where it all came from? He replied, Yes, I didn't want to, but I read... She squeezed his knee. Let me explain. A few weeks ago, I started receiving letters from Glenn. He wanted to see me. It's not hard to guess what he needed. Wyatt nodded. I tried to get him to stop, but he kept emailing me, so I had an idea. I called his wife, Marcia. They had been at loggerheads for quite some time. Glenn was not a very good husband. Ellie squeezed Wyatt's knee again. He's not like you, honey. Wyatt leaned a little closer to his wife. She gently pushed him away. Marcia wants children. Glenn doesn't. Marcia needs a man she can rely on, not a roaming cat. She and I developed a plan. What you read is actually a double account. For the past couple of weeks, Marcia and I have been receiving his emails at the same time, but Marcia is the one who responds, not me. Wyatt leaned forward again. So, let me finish this, honey. Marcia and I arranged everything. Oh, Marcia doesn't want to ruin him. Why should she do this? His income is her guarantee. But she really wants to leave. She wants to find someone she can trust and love. We already talked about this. She wants someone like you. What you saw today was Marcia's exit visa. I'm sorry I never thought to tell you. It just never occurred to me that you would consider it so important. What can you even think? Oh, my dear, you and I, we are a team. God, I'm already diligently making our third child. Wyatt was angry and upset. He was embarrassed and torn inside. Ellie, all my life I've felt like number two when it came to you. All those years in high school and then college, it seemed like Glenn was first in your heart. I've always been second fiddle. I was so scared. I thought I finally lost you to him. Ellie stood up and began to unbutton her husband's shirt. Wyatt, you are a stupid, wonderful man. Remember when we were in high school? Wyatt nodded, brushing away a tear. You remember all those stupid football games, those stupid lacrosse games? Wyatt, I hate football. I hate lacrosse. Lacrosse is boring, but soccer is absolutely boring. Do you really think I was there for every game for 4 years because I loved it? I was there to see you. I remember when you looked up and saw me. Haven't I always looked at you? Wyatt blinked back another tear and nodded. Yes, I think so. Ellie continued. I remember our first real date. You arranged everything so perfectly. A good restaurant, tickets to see cats. Everything seemed right, and then your car died. I felt so sorry for you. I just wanted to squeeze you in my arms. You looked so helpless. My father was proud of you because you allowed him to help you. He knew then what I felt. I thought... Ellie stroked her husband's cheek. You thought wrong, Wyatt. I've always loved you. You have always been first in my heart. Do you remember all the carnivals? Do you remember how I was chosen as the queen of our city? You were so heroic, but so clumsy. You gave me a cloak, but then you fell right off the platform. You were great. Maybe stupid, but wonderful. Every girl in town wanted to be with you, but I had you. They didn't have you. But what about you and Glenn on prom night? Ellie took off both his shirts and unbuttoned his trousers. Did you believe this, braggart? You know very well when I gave up my cherry. You were there the night it happened. Damn, Wyatt. It was on this very couch. Wyatt, it was always you. Only you. No one else. Wyatt moved to make it easier for her to take off his pants. Your parents, that evening, for what reason? She pulled down his pants. Wyatt, do you remember the evening when you gave me this ring? She raised her left hand. He nodded. Do you remember the expressions on my parents' faces? Yes, I remember. Wyatt, they were happy. It was the happiness and relief you saw. We've all been waiting for you for 3 years. Ever since you went to college, Mom, Dad, and I have been talking about this. For a while, it seemed like I would have to ask you myself, but you finally did it yourself. So then, when your brother started coming down, honey, they knew. My brother didn't know, but they quickly stopped him. Wyatt, I love you. I've always loved you. I loved you in elementary school, in middle school, all through high school. Then when you went to college, but damn, Wyatt, you were so slow, he asked. So what will happen now? She smiled and said, we'll go upstairs and make love. Then we get up, get dressed, and go to my mom and dad. We ate some chili. Why then, after that, then we live happily ever after. And so it was. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.